Hi guys, Jenna here. I am here to hashtag tell your story. Hashtag tell my story, tell your story. You know what I mean. I'm here to tell you about how I met Jesus. And he comes to meet me every day. Praise the Lord, because I get lost nearly every single day. So on my Instagram, I actually shared the story of what happened when I was just a young adult struggling with atheism, and I met Mike, who invited me back into the sacraments. Mike is my husband, in case you don't know. He's awesome. He invited me to come back into the sacraments and into the church after I was just struggling with reading a lot of books about atheism, flirting with atheism, and really how his invitation kind of transformed my life to go back into the church, to fall more in love with Jesus. But I thought I'd share kind of my original conversion story. So I actually was raised Catholic. I would go to Mass every single Sunday with my mom as I was growing up. I went to Catholic school, K through 8, and then I decided to go to a public high school. I went to public school and had a great time. Not with the Lord, had a great time with the world. And I think we can do that even as adults. I don't think that that's just a teenager thing. I think we can get really caught up in the world and what the world offers us and the pleasures of this world. I fell really easily into, and it's a trap that is hard to get out of. Even though I was in the world and doing things with the world, commiserating with the world, I also still was really involved in youth group and church. So praise the Lord for that. Praise the Lord for his anchoring me into youth group, and my parents always telling me that youth group was not an option and church was not an option, and going to Mass every Sunday was not an option. So I was still doing those things while being a totally different person all week long, but going to Mass and youth group every single Sunday. I had really beautiful friends who were just great examples and witness to me of how to live a Catholic life. I actually was invited to a leadership conference when I was 16 years old, where I was really introduced to beautiful prayer. I saw young adults who loved the Lord. I saw other teenagers who really gave their lives to the Lord and what that looked like. I prayed with people. I prayed with young adults who were really great examples to me of prayer and holiness, which I hadn't really experienced prior to this conference. During one of the sessions at this particular conference, we were actually in adoration. And adoration is basically when the Blessed Sacrament is exposed and we're all just praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament. So during adoration one night, as I was thinking about all of the times that I had turned my back on Jesus, all of the times that I had sinned, all of the times that I had chosen to drink or to smoke or to be with a boy or to really just turn away from God, all of those memories were coming back in my head as I was at this conference, as I was in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, and they were just swirling around. And I remember earlier that day, one of the speakers had said to us, "I want you to close your eyes and imagine the face of Jesus." And this was an incredible moment for me, to close my eyes and to imagine a real man. It wasn't just God up there in the sky that, just made me and left me. It was a real man. I had never thought of Jesus as a real man. So as I closed my eyes and I started to visualize his face and imagine his face, he became so real and so tangible for the first time for me. And so a few hours later, as I was in adoration in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament and thinking about all of those memories, his face came back into view for me. And he was in every single one of those memories. For the first time, he was with me as I chose to give myself away, give my body away to someone. He was with me as I gave my body away to drinking and to drugs. He was actually standing with me in my imagination in every single one of those moments. And I realized I had never been alone. He had always been with me. Through every single sin, through every single time I turned away from him, he came with me. He was with me at every single moment of sin. Again, in my imagination, I just was overwhelmed. I just started weeping, thinking about Jesus being with me at all of those times of great sin and all of those times of falling. I remember thinking, every single one of these tears is my mercy being poured out on you. Every single tear is just one more mercy being poured out for every single sin. It was just this beautiful realization that his mercy was overwhelming. His mercy was flooding every single part of my life. For the first time, it wasn't just this duplicitous idea in my head anymore. It was a real transforming. It was a real turning my face back to see this merciful Lord that we have. And so that moment when I was 16 is the most pivotal moment of my life. Granted, I still struggled so much in those teenage years of really finding my footing and finding my security as a young girl, finding who I was in the Lord as a daughter to a Father who greatly loves me and who never leaves. I still struggled, I still sinned, I still turned away from the Lord, but I always remembered what I realized that day when I was 16. I always remembered that He never leaves. He's never leaving us, no matter how far we turn away. He is always right there. He is always in every single moment with us, standing right beside us, waiting for us to just turn our hearts back to Him, to turn our gaze back to Him, to turn our eyes away from the pleasures of this world and to see His beautiful eyes of mercy and love and forgiveness. That's the God that we have. That's the God who sent His Son to save us. That's our God. And I want to invite you to allow Jesus to become the center of your life, to turn your heart back to Him, to turn your gaze back to Him. Because in Him there's abundance of life, there's abundance of mercy, and there's an abundance of love that we will never find in the world. Thank you so much for listening to my story, and I can't wait to hear yours. Share your story anywhere, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. Share it everywhere. This is the most significant story we can share with anyone, is the story of how we met Jesus. So #tell your story. I can't wait to hear it.